Hey everyone, welcome to another video. This is probably the latest video I've ever recorded, as I'm recording this at 11 p.m. my time after having played 13 games in the new season, all on the new patch 14.1. These are all on my Twitch if you guys are curious, twitch.tv/ShokLol. But in this video, I'm going to go over my first impressions of Season 14. I'm going to talk about the big things that you guys probably have questions about, which are the item changes and, of course, the map changes. So obviously, a lot of new items were added and a bunch were changed, so it's going to take some time to really figure out what is absolutely the best. And I will make a video probably in 2 or 3 more days talking about just like every item in detail and what builds I think different champs should be going. But for now, just some observations from the first day. There's a few items that I think are pretty out of line. The first one is actually Protobelt. So Protobelt is an item that I thought actually wasn't going to be that good. And the reason was, what's it called? Rocketbelt. Rocketbelt. So I thought this item wasn't going to be that good because they removed the pen on it. But the thing is, it's only 2,500 gold, which is absolutely insane, especially when a lot of the items in the current meta actually got made more expensive. You know, if you look at things like Shadow Flame, 3,200, and there's a lot of items like this that are just much, much more expensive than Rocketbelt. Some of the other items you'll be rushing, you know, are just like 3k or whatever, but this can be like a pretty significant amount of time. And the champs that use this, you know, champs like Akali, maybe Lissandra, I think Silas could potentially build this, Fizz, Echo. I think these are all going to be stronger than they were before, which is, like, again, surprising to me. I actually thought Rocketbelt was overall a nerf, but it turns out just the absolute price of it feels really, really broken. And something else that synergizes really, really well with the health of Rocketbelt is defensive items. So something else that I think is very broken is defensive items in general. So for mid lane, you know, Zhonya's and Banshees both now have a ton of AP on them, 120 respectively. And this is very, very good now because pen items have kind of been nerfed. I'll talk about that in a moment. But yeah, I think this kind of build here, going something like Rocketbelt into Zhonya's is very, very good on certain champs. Obviously, you can go something like Rocketbelt into Shadow Flame, or you can also go Rocketbelt into Stormsurge. These are going to be kind of your normal AP assassin builds. So I think definitely look out for Rocketbelt. It's an item that is probably worth abusing at the moment, and I think the champs that will use it well are going to be quite strong. Now, another OP combination, I think, is Luden's and Stormsurge. Can also be a Shadow Flame, but I think these two items in particular are pretty strong. They give you a ton of burst, and it's really, really good on a bunch of different champs. There's a lot of APs that I think will be building this, especially before people start building more magic resist. So obviously, flat magic pen does get countered pretty hard by magic resist. For now, though, I don't think people haven't really realized the potential of the defensive items, especially because the defensive items have better build paths now. Like Zhonya's gives you a stopwatch on your Seekers, and Banshees also gives you a spell shield on your Verdant Barrier, which is both really nice. So this is another thing that you can consider at the moment. Another item that I think is actually really good is Cryptbloom. So this is like the Void Staff equivalent, but it's actually a lot better than I thought. So when you kind of look at Cryptbloom on face value, I'll kind of compare it to Void Staff. So basically, it's like you're paying a little bit less gold, you're getting less AP, you're getting less Magic Pen, but you do get Ability Haste, and you also get this Healing Nova. It's about the size of a Redemption, maybe a bit bigger. It heals allies, and it's normally for about 200. It does scale with your AP, but it's AoE, has a 60-second cooldown, doesn't show it correctly here, but basically, it's probably like, once a fight, you're going to get a big AoE heal for your whole team, which is actually pretty useful. Now, the reason this is a lot better than I thought it was is because Void Staff historically has been a pretty terrible second item. You know, it's sometimes you have to buy it, like if they have a lot of magic resist, you kind of have to go Void second, but it's always felt bad, right? It's like just AP, and it wasn't a lot of AP before, it didn't have any ability haste or anything on it. And I think still Void Staff is probably not the best second item, but Cryptbloom is actually a really good second item. You know, it's giving you not as much percent Magic Pen and not as much AP, but you get Ability Haste on it, and you get the, you know, that like passive effect on it, which is really, really good as well. So some builds that you've seen cropped up, you know, if you're against like a tankier team, right? You'll see people go for like something like Seraphs. You know, this is very common on a champ like Orianna. I'll show you my builds I use today in a little bit. Then you can go Cryptbloom second, and then Rabadon third. And this feels really, really good. I think this is potentially a sleeper OP build. I saw more people starting to do this today. Yeah, I think it feels really good. Alternatively, you know, like other second items, you can, of course, go like the Shadow Flame or the, what was it, Stormsurge. I think in my very first Ori game, I went, yeah, Seraph, Stormsurge, Cryptbloom, which did feel pretty good. But yeah, I think there is actually a lot of potential for some build like this. Is there any other like items that I noticed were particularly out of line? I think there's some lethality items that seem pretty strong. I didn't test a whole lot of lethality today. Rod of Ages on certain champs I think is still good, but overall, like, it's kind of similar problems as before. Oh, Malignance. So Malignance is an item that I thought was going to be better, and kind of feel like it's not that great. So Malignance is basically It gives you ultimate haste. I think it's 20 ultimate haste, so it's really good for champs that like 1 their ultimate cooldown, right? So you'd think champs like Ari. And then damaging a champ with your ultimate burns the ground beneath them, deals damage and reduces their MR. Now, it doesn't deal a whole lot of damage. It doesn't reduce their MR by a whole lot. And also, it's got like an internal cooldown, I think, of like 6 seconds, so you can't like constantly apply it. And also on top of that, it's very easy to move out of this circle. Like, it's not very big. So the way I kind of interpret it, you know, is like champs, again, that have like ults and maybe ults with CC. I tried it on Hui, didn't actually feel that good. I think it's probably best on champs like, probably best on champs like Mal's, maybe Lissandra, but I could see Lissandra building Protobelt instead. So this item feels a little undertuned. That being said, maybe I'm overrating, or I guess, yeah, maybe I'm overrating the effect on this and thinking like, okay, maybe this effect doesn't actually matter so much, and just by virtue again of it being 2800 compared to 3000, maybe it's actually better than like Ludens and Seraphs in that regard. So an item I definitely have to test more, but just, yeah, on face value, I didn't feel like it was so strong. Was there anything else? Yeah, nothing else in terms of the items that felt like particularly broken today. I mean, again, like I obviously didn't get to test every champ, and I'm still going through them. I have a whole big list of champs I want to play. Actually, one thing I'll quickly do is I did make a notepad, which I've pinned in my Discord, just kind of going through items I thought most champs would build. A lot of these are going to be wrong. I made this a couple days before the patch came out, and it was kind of just theory crafting. So a lot of these are wrong. I haven't gone through and updated them, but if you have like literally no idea what to build in your champ at the moment, this can be like maybe some kind of use to you. Again, you can just kind of pause and look at your champ. I think a lot of them are out of date already, because I think, you know, a lot of champs I thought would, you know, I thought champs like Akali wouldn't build Rocketbelt, and they actually do. So take this with a grain of salt. I should go through and curate it, but basically I'm going to make a better item video in just a couple days, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. That's something you guys can look at. And yeah, I don't really think there's any other items that really stood out to me, at least on day one. The other question I got pretty much all day is, what do you think of the map changes? So I think there's 2 big map changes that affect mid. Obviously, like the mid lane changes themselves, and also the Void Grubs. So first off, the mid lane changes, like, do I like them? I would say yes, but I'm not sure they actually achieved what they set out to do. So a big thing of changing mid lane was to just make it less gankable. Personally, I did not feel any less gankable today. I think I got ganked pretty much non-stop. And I think the reason for that is that while there is this like greater distance to cover, I think some of the warding spots are a bit less powerful than they were before. I will have to make a warding video kind of going over that, but for example, like warding this bush doesn't feel that great, I don't think. There are some, you know, opportunities to ward further out, but they don't feel amazing. It could also be that I just haven't optimized the wards yet. And the other thing is, like, again, while there is this distance to cover, there's also a lot more distance to safety. So you kind of have to run further away, and you can be chased down during that time. I would say I think that's way more interesting for the 1v1. I think I definitely got more solo kills today than I normally do. Again, could be like early season things, I'm versing weaker players, but I just felt like in general there was like more opportunity to punish, because the lane is just, it's so long now. And I wonder if that affects the wave control in any way, just because like potentially there is like more opportunity for freezing because the lane is longer, right? Like a lot of the time in mid, you can only freeze for a couple waves just because, again, the lane is so short. But I think with the length of the lane now, possibly you can look to freeze a bit more. So overall, I guess TLDR on the mid changes, I think that they honestly didn't do as much as I thought they would, and they probably didn't do the thing they set out to do. But I think overall I like them. I like the mid lane map changes, and I'm kind of excited to play with them more. Void Grubs thing. So the little Void Grubs objective that's been added, I mean, it's kind of weird. Like, basically, the more Void Grubs that get taken, the more like damage you do to towers. It's like a little additional effect. It feels like it might actually be quite impactful, but the impact is like a bit more difficult to see than something like the Rift Herald. So I'm still not sure how much you should really prioritize towards playing it early. I think it is more important than like the first dragon, for example. At the same time, I feel like placing wards in bot river is like maybe more valuable, just because bot lane is very gankable on this patch. Like, especially if you're on red side, you're way more gankable than like the blue side bot lane. So maybe just something to think about. I might have to get back to you guys on that, because again, like, I think one, it's like kind of difficult for you to play towards it as a mid laner anyway. You know, like in this clip here, for example, like I can't really play towards top side because my jungler's pathing out bot side. So a lot of the time it won't be up to you as a mid laner. I guess like it's the kind of thing where if you get the opportunity to contest it, you probably should. But I see it kind of like maybe just a bit more valuable than a first dragon, where it's like it's something you look to contest, but I don't think the entire early game revolves around it like it did around the Herald. At least that's kind of my initial impressions of it. So yeah, probably going to end the video here. My voice is pretty tired because I streamed 8 hours today. But yeah, I will stream again tomorrow. I will have another video for you guys tomorrow, probably talking a bit more about the items. If you have any more questions I didn't cover in this video, please leave them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.